Hello everyone and welcome back to another Sims 3 speed build. So this house sits on a 40 by 40 lot. It will cost your Sims approximately 163,000 simoleons, and if you get it unfurnished it'll be approximately 81,000 simoleons. So when I was building this house, I went ahead and raised the ground up because when I decided to start building, the one thing I wanted to have, was a walkout basement. So the basement area I think is set up maybe a little weird. But I wasn't really sure what to do with it, to be honest. And I gave the land a bunch of like hills and stuff, as you can see here. And I thought I would just do something a little bit different than a flat ground. That's the one thing I'd have to say I like about with Sims 3. Is the fact that I can do a flat ground or a hilly landscaped, and while in Sims 4 of course you cannot, so that is of course irritating. Now the one thing I was struggling with, which is fixed, so don't worry, you'll see me still work a little bit with it throughout the video, including towards the end when I'm furnishing. I will still be kind of messing with it, but for whatever reason the level of the house just never seemed to be quite right. No matter how many times I flattened it, no matter how many times I thought I was fixing it, it still seemed to be glitching out. But I figured out what the glitching out was. It had nothing to do with the level of the house. The house is flat. It's fine. Everything works. I've already gone through and tested everything. The staircases all work. The beds, everything all works. So there shouldn't be any problems when it comes to that. What it was when you have furniture placed and you change the level of the floor or the foundation or something and it changes the height, you have to reset the furniture, and that's kind of what the glitching was. You'll see I'll be towards the end when furnishing one of the upstairs bedrooms. You'll see that the one rug, if you catch it, will be like glitching. That's when I noticed it. And I thought it was just because the house was unlevel, but that wasn't the case. The house was fine. The whole entire time the house was fine. And I was thinking it was the house unlevel when all it was I just had to replace the rug, and then it was fine. No problems whatsoever. And it does work. Like I said, everything does work in the house. So it is not really a super large home, but it does have a lot of space, at least for me anyway. I don't usually build a house quite this big. I've built bigger. I definitely have houses a lot bigger, ones that will definitely have more bedrooms. This only has 4 bedrooms. It could definitely get more if you change the entertainment area down in the basement. You could definitely get more bedrooms. And in fact, I was thinking about leaving some of the basement kind of blacked out and not doing anything with it at all. But then, you know me, I have a really hard time not furnishing everything, absolutely everything in the house. Mostly because when I put a house in, when I want to play, sometimes I just don't want to mess with it. Sometimes I just want the house to be fully furnished and I can place it in, and I know any townies that happen to move into it would have a house that is furnished. Or sometimes I just want to plop the house down and play. I don't want to sit there and refurnish because furnishing isn't my favorite. So I did a little something different with the sidewalk and stairs in the front of the house. It's very similar to what I did with the secret Victorian mansion that I created. And I kind of like the idea of the staircase just kind of like zigzagging around a little bit until it comes down, because the front of the house, the porch, the first floor is up higher because the ground is raised. So I just thought I would do something a little bit different, and I put the landscaping and stuff around in the area, and I think it actually turned out pretty good. I'm still not sure how much exactly I am completely sold on the way the front of the house looks. It does change a little bit. I take the turret out. I don't know exactly when I take it out, but I do take it out eventually, and I make it more square, I guess you could say. And it has like a fake balcony. Your Sims can't get to it because I didn't put any doors, but of course you could always add a door and then your Sims could use it. But I did not do it that way, so it is a balcony that cannot be used. And I decided to go with kind of like a black brick, I guess, kind of. I think it's black. I mean, in the game it looks like a really dark gray. And then I went with like a white siding, which I might add, coming up with a siding that actually looks white is not the easiest thing. It really isn't. You would think, but by making it actually the white color, it actually looks gray instead. So you really got to fiddle a little bit with the coloring before it finally, you know, you get it towards that white color. But I think I got it. I think it's white. It looks white to me. So I went with it. I like the color scheme of the exterior of the house. I think it turned out pretty good. But yeah, you'll see I'll still be messing quite a bit with the foundation, and I'll be messing with the exterior of the house and stuff like that. I just wasn't very happy with it. As you can see, I put a staircase, or not a staircase, but a garage under the house. I just thought I would go ahead and do that because it takes up space, and I didn't have to furnish or figure out what to do with the basement. So, but because of the garage underneath the house, it does kind of create kind of an odd space, a weird space towards the back with the double doors and stuff. It's kind of, it's a little different. I ended up turning it into a bedroom. I almost imagined it as being the master bedroom, but it doesn't have an ensuite bath. In fact, none of the bedrooms actually have an ensuite bath, so none of them are really technically considered a master suite. But it is the largest of all the bedrooms, and I mean, it is kind of strange. I mean, it's not really realistic for the master bedroom to be in the basement while all the kids' bedrooms are on the second floor. To me, it just seems like you would be in the basement, and then you would have no idea whether or not anybody came into your house, whether or not your kids left, whether or not they came in late, you know, sneaking out, things like that. It just seems to me like that would make it quite a bit harder. I wanted to put a staircase right here, and in fact I do end up getting the staircase there, but then I was not happy with trying to get the ground to go, and I didn't like how the staircase actually came out farther than the side of the house, so I wasn't too happy about that. So I ended up taking it out. Like I said, I mess a lot with constrained floor elevation. It's definitely one of those cheats that you really got to be careful with, and you can really screw it up, so definitely practice. It just takes practice, but once you get the hang of it and you understand how it works, it actually ends up not being quite that difficult. Actually, you know, you can usually do a lot of neat stuff with it. So basically what I was doing here is I was just trying to figure out where I wanted the staircase to come in from to go down the basement. Now, the game will, or actually quite often glitches putting a staircase directly underneath another staircase, but you can do one thing that will almost always guarantee that the stairs will not glitch. And what I mean by the glitch is the Sims will go down the stairs, but then they can't come back up. Like, they come up the stairs and then they stand at the top of the staircase and then they turn around and go back down. So if anybody's ever had that happen, you know exactly what it is I am talking about. That happens when you have the staircase directly underneath another staircase. And what I have discovered and have started doing since I finally figured out how to fix it, you can still do that, but you don't actually have the staircase like literally directly underneath. You have the one that's below, like say, like for instance mine that's going to the basement in this house is actually one square over. So if you look at it if you can get a look at it while I'm building, you know, in this video, or if you download it, take a look and you'll see that the basement staircase is actually over one square. And by doing that, we'll pretty much ensure that your house or your staircase are always going to work. So you won't have to worry about them going down and then not being able to come back up. I would have to say one of my favorite rooms in this house is probably the kitchen. And more or less probably just this area that I'm working with here with the table, and it looks like it has a bench seat. Now those are not seats. Your Sims cannot sit in them. I do use them a couple of times in the house. They're actually ottomans, at least I think they're ottomans. And I just changed the colors and move them together to make it look like a bench seat. So that's just pretty much what I did. And for whatever reason, going from that tile to a plain wall pattern, it wasn't, even though I moved the colors over to the other one, it still was slightly off. Because of having the color wheel, of course, you can almost always guarantee of matching the colors. It can be a little bit, you know, you got to move your mouse super, super slow and very minute spaces. But a lot of times you can get them to work out, at least pretty close to where they're, you know, not super noticeable. And that's kind of what I had to do with this one. That way the paint on the wall could at least continue from the kitchen into the eat-in area. And those two pieces that I put above the stove and the counter there, those are store content. So if you do not have store content, those, you will not get those, and they will be replaced with something else that you do have. I do use a couple of pieces of store content. When I do use store content, I don't usually use a whole lot. Now, if I do choose to use a ton, I will warn you that the house has a lot of store content, but a lot of times my houses will either have no store content whatsoever, or if they do have some, they'll have just a little bit. So, and those little, that plate rack, I always forget to use it. That is in the game. It's one of the packs has it. I really couldn't tell you what pack has those plates, but I always forget about them, and then I never use them. And yeah, I just, why I happen to think of it, I don't know. Now, I think it's a lighting glitch that's causing the different color of green that you see on the walls, but they are the same. I think it just has something to do with the lighting. The lighting must just be a little off or different, or something's just not quite right. I don't really know. But it is the same wallpaper, so I didn't want to sit there and mess with the color too much, because then if the lighting were to change, it'd be off again. So what would really be the point? So I chose not to do that. This house is fully all wood all the way throughout the entire house. It's the same wood. I decided not to be super picky. I already go into casts quite a bit. And I try to go and do things or use patterns I don't normally use. Like, I don't think I've ever used this wallpaper in the dining room. But it looked really nice. I usually always use the same kind of wallpapers that have the same trim at the very top, because usually a house, when you go into it, if it has crown molding or base trim or molding around doors or windows, it's usually almost always the same throughout the whole house. Now, a Victorian home, when it comes to crown molding, some rooms it'll be more extravagant than others. But for the most part, a lot of times it's the same, and your baseboards are usually the same, and around the windows is usually the same from one room to the next. So that's why a lot of times I use the same wallpaper, because I know it's the same trim. But in this case, I chose to go with different wallpapers, and the trim, the crown molding is pretty similar, but they're not exact. But I thought it turned out pretty good. I don't know why I chose to go with kind of a pink color in the living room and sitting area, but that just kind of what it ended up becoming. It was kind of like a creamy color with a little bit of pink or rosy color, or I'm not sure what you would call it. That boat, just so you know, is a store content. At this time, I honestly really can't tell you where it comes from. But when you go to download the house, if you go to the exchange, a lot of times it will tell you under the items what the store content was, but there are sometimes it won't. It'll leave some of them out, like the free items, for instance, like the rotary phone, which I think I use in here. Some of the plants, like the plant I just put down, that's a free item. Those items don't show up there, but if you go to Mod the Sims, when this house is on Mod the Sims, or when you download, or you go to my my WordPress, which is where you're going to find the download links for this house, it'll take you directly to the WordPress. That will have a list of everything, all the store content items that I use. So if you choose to purchase them, you'll have direct links to them. The TV and the couch and the 2 chairs are also store content. Just so you know, I like to try to let you know a little bit on items that are from the store. I do not use custom content, so if you're wondering, I don't use custom content. I used to be a custom content junkie. I mean, like, really, really bad. I was obsessed with it. Just absolutely obsessed with CC, because the items that come with just the regular packs, you get bored with them and they're really not all that great. But custom content are like amazing, and it makes houses and makes things look so much better. But when I was uploading it to Mod the Sims, it was a major pain in the rear. I had to link everything, every CC that I had in that house. I had to try to figure out what I used, what it was called, and it became a big major headache. It was horrible. So yeah, I ended up pretty much removing all of my store content. You can still download some of the houses that I had over on Mod the Sims that uses store content, and it will have the links and everything for you. But my game itself no longer has it at all. It is completely, well, other than the Charmed house that I did, the Hollywood Manor, that I kept all the store content or the custom content for that, just because I really like the house, and if I want to use it for my own personal use, I want to make sure that it still looks exactly the same and nothing gets replaced. So I have those items, but I do not put them in any of my builds, so don't worry, none of those items are in the other builds. Out of all the bedrooms, this is probably one of my favorite bedrooms. I use those ottomans again at the foot of the bed, just to kind of make it look like a bench seat again to go with the room. And I'm not sure what was going on with the painting and the that candle on the wall, but it didn't want to move right. It didn't want to put it placed properly. I don't know. This is the room. You'll see that the rug is going to glitch, and like I said, and then I try to fix it. Right here is where I'm going to start trying to fix it. And you know, it's not the house. The house is level. So I thought I had it, and then I come back later and it's glitching again, and there's another area that's glitching, and all it is just furniture just needed to be replaced because they were just moved slightly up or down or into the floor. Like I said, everything is working fine, so don't worry about that. Your Sims can move around the house. They can get in the bed. They can use the chairs. Everything seems to be working just fine. So, but yeah, I had a little bit of issues. Like I said, it had nothing to do with the level of the house. The house was level. It's just when I was messing around a lot with the constrained floor elevation and different things like that, it just kind of moves your objects a little bit if they're already placed, which is really frustrating and irritating, because I have actually placed lots into a world to use. And because it's slightly off or something's a little bit different, the furniture won't be at the right level or the right height, and then they're unusable. I've actually placed a firehouse one time somewhere. I couldn't even tell you where it was. And everything was so far lower than the floor that half of the object was missing. Like, the only thing you could see was the tops of the chairs. The seat part of the chair wasn't even visible. That's how much difference it was. It was ridiculous, and I had to go through. I might as well just deleted everything and redone the whole entire thing, because that's basically how it felt. I had to change the height of the windows. I had to do the doors. I had to do all of the objects that were in the building. It was just a huge time-consuming thing. It was frustrating. This room here, I decorated it, as you can see, kind of like for a girl's room. I pictured them as, they're kids, but they're not really teenagers. Almost, even kids who are 10, 11 years old, they have posters and pictures of famous people and stuff a lot of times on their walls, or maybe a poster of a movie or something that they liked. But at the same time, they have a toy box. They have other miscellaneous toys sitting around and stuff like that. And I do know I'm aware that the book bag thing in that room was turned around wrong. I didn't catch it until later. Off camera, it got fixed. That's when I noticed it when I was doing screenshots. I saw that it wasn't right. So I went ahead and fixed it. So don't worry, that is turned around and it is the correct direction. This here is the basement. Like I said, it's kind of strange and I didn't really know what to do with it exactly. I didn't want to try to figure out a whole bunch more bedrooms because I don't know, sometimes anything bigger than 4 bedrooms just seems excessive. I know there's a lot of mansions out there that have that many bedrooms, and in fact there's even a house in the town, well, not really the town I live in, but in a neighboring town, and they have 6 bedrooms and 6.5 baths. Now why in the world does every bedroom have a bath attached to it? I don't know. To me, I look at a house like that and I think, man, that is 6.5 bathrooms that need to be cleaned. I don't want to clean 6.5 bathrooms. But I guess if you have a house that big, you could probably hire somebody to come in once or twice a week and just clean your whole house. But then you would have to be very trustworthy that the person that was cleaning your house wouldn't, I guess you could say, steal from you. You'd hate to think of it like that, but think of all them people or the maids that steal in a hotel. Or just people, the guests in general in a hotel that steal things. I mean, how many people go home with a towel, a hotel towel, you know? Or something from the hotel. The soaps, I don't know. The point is, you know, that's the way the world is nowadays. And I don't know if I could trust somebody to do that. I would be worried all of the time that something would come up missing. But I ended up making, like I said, that's kind of an entertainment area. It's got the pool table, it's got a TV and things like that. And like I said, this is a bedroom and it's the biggest bedroom. So that's kind of why I look at it as being the master bedroom. But it does not have an ensuite bath. But it has 2 patio doors. And no, I do not do anything with the exterior. I am not an exterior decorator. You would be surprised how many comments on Mod the Sims, I get emails, I get comments on my videos here on YouTube. You would be surprised how many people say, well, why didn't you decorate the backyard? Your front yard is decorated. Why isn't the backyard decorated? Oh, I'm not an exterior decorator. I get no ideas hardly ever. I look at a backyard and I do not see what I can put in there. I'm sure some people could probably come up with this amazing backyard living space with a pool and barbecues and lounge chairs and all that kind of stuff. But me, I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I don't see anything that I can put there. I just don't, I'm not an exterior decorator, and I have said so many times, I've replied back so many times, I feel like a broken record. I don't decorate the backyard. I can decorate the front yard. I don't have a problem putting the bushes and some trees and stuff, but backyard, you're lucky to get a couple pieces of furniture for children to play on. And like this house, for instance, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing back there. I put a small concrete patio in front of one of the sliding doors, and that's it. There's not even a slide. There's no swings. There's nothing. I looked at it this time, and I thought, yeah, I have absolutely no vision right now coming to my head on what to do with this backyard. And by the time I got to it, I didn't even want to do anything with it anymore. I had already spent, this build took me 4 hours. Now, maybe to some people 4 hours isn't that bad. Maybe they don't have a problem sitting and building for 4 hours. But for me, it took 3 times sitting here. 3 times at different times building this house. And sitting for a little over an hour each. And it for me is that's just too much. I can't sit in one spot and do that same thing. I just get bored. I get very bored. I just can't. I just can't sit there and do it. So for me to sit here and do a build for 4 hours, for me, that seems like forever. It took me 3 days. 3 days to build this house. And I got so bored with it that by the time I was doing the table here on the outside of the chairs and putting a few of the benches around on the decks and stuff, I did not want to build anymore. I was done. I didn't want to touch this house anymore. I wanted to be finished. And I didn't want to come back. Unfortunately, I had to come back because I had to fix a few things. But other than that, the building aspect of the house is done. I changed the stairs going up to the front door do get changed to a different color. I do realize that those, never got changed. So as you can see right there you go. I got them changed. But for the most part, this is it. There's nothing in the backyard. So, anyway, here are the screenshots of the house. Like I said, I'm still unsure what I think on the front of the house. Let me know in the comments below what you think on the way this house looks on the front. I don't know. I just don't know if I'm fully sold on the way the front of the house looks. Every other side or direction of the house I'm happy with, but the front, I don't know. I feel like the house is looking at me funny, like it's giving me a strange look, like something's not right. I don't know, that's the way it looks to me. So I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, here are the screenshots. I think they turned out pretty good. The rooms, I think, are very pretty. I like a lot of them. And I hope you enjoyed. And the download link will be in the description. And I will see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.